Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So after Lomachenko defeats Luke Campbell, Devin Haney, he comes out, he responds by saying, I could beat Lomachenko point blank. Now clearly Devin Haney, he believes that Lomachenko struggled against Luke Campbell and he's seen flaws in his game because Lomachenko was supposed to beat Luke Campbell easy. I mean, Luke Campbell, he wasn't a pound for pound champion. He wasn't a Mikey Garcia. He wasn't a Regis Prograis. He was a guy coming in with 2 losses before he got in the ring with Lomachenko. And yet the first half of this fight looked more like Ali versus Frazier instead of Lomachenko versus Luke Campbell, if you know what I mean. There's no doubt about it, Luke Campbell, he won at least 4 rounds. Once again, you know, the first half of the fight was extremely competitive, which surprised a lot of people. But credit to Lomachenko, he picked it up in the second half and he kind of took over. But clearly Devin Haney had already seen what he needed to see to believe that he can actually beat Lomachenko now. Now I'm gonna tell you something. Devin Haney is not the type of fighter that just randomly calls out any fighter and says, oh, I'll beat this guy, I'll beat that guy. If you guys remember, Devin Haney was the first person long time ago to start calling out Robert Easter. While Robert Easter was constantly calling out Mikey Garcia, Devin Haney, he was constantly calling out Robert Easter. He believed that he could beat him at a very young age too. He also called out Adrian Broner years ago as well. And I also have to give Devin Haney credit because he actually picked Mikey Garcia to beat Robert Easter. I remember interviewing him and he basically gave Robert Easter no chance in that fight. And Mikey Garcia, he won a lopsided decision in that fight. So Devin Haney, he sees things in the ring. He definitely sees things. Devin Haney, he had seen all that he needed to see when it came to Robert Easter, when it came to Adrian Broner, to believe that he could beat those fighters. And now he sees holes in Lomachenko's game. And it's not too far-fetched for Devin Haney to say something like this or believe that he can beat him. Because worst case scenario, if Luke Campbell can win rounds against Lomachenko, then we would have to believe that Devin Haney would at least do better than Luke Campbell against Lomachenko, right? So with that being said, you know, now Lomachenko, he has some guys that wants to get in the ring with him. I mean, it's not like he didn't have guys, but he's been calling out Gervonta Tank Davis. He's been chasing that fight. And I believe even Tank Davis is interested in taking the fight after watching his performance. But I will say this, the difference though with Devin Haney, he has height and he has very long arms. He would have a serious reach advantage over Lomachenko. And I don't think Lomachenko would be that comfortable with his height and reach because Devin, he knows how to use that reach. And he also can fight on the inside. So I think Devin Haney will probably cause even more problems for Lomachenko than Gervonta Tank Davis would because of his reach and his height. But both of those fights would be tough fights for Lomachenko. So hopefully, you know, that's the next big fight that we see. Lomachenko versus Devin Haney. Once again, Devin Haney is not the type of person to come out and just say, I'll beat this guy, I'll beat that guy. For him to come out and say something like that, that means Devin is seriously licking his chops right now. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about who is pound for pound the best fighter and the reason why they're the best. I think all of us would agree, especially after Lomachenko's performance against Luke Campbell, that Terence Crawford is pound for pound the best fighter in the world. And it's even easier to explain and break down now. See, once again, if you're comparing Lomachenko to Crawford, which we're often doing because these are the top 2 pound for pound guys, I truly believe. I believe that Lomachenko is number 2 behind Terence Crawford. But this is the difference between the two, or one of the differences. We all know that when Terence Crawford fights someone, no one is aggressively calling him out or saying, I know I could beat Terence Crawford now and after watching that performance. Certainly, if Terence Crawford were to get in there with a Luke Campbell type of opponent, not only do I think all of us believe that Terence Crawford would dominate him and most likely stop him, and once again, I'm talking about if they were in the same division, right? Not only would Terence Crawford most likely dominate him, but I can assure you no one would be coming out after Crawford's performance saying, I could beat that guy point blank. I could beat him. Like, that guy has flaws, etc., etc., etc. I mean, guys, and this is not just me saying this. I mean, I've already read articles. I've read articles where they're saying that Lomachenko, he struggled. He struggled against Luke Campbell, and he would be in trouble. He would be wise to stay at 135 and not go up to 140. I've seen these articles. My friend, he sent me the link to this one article on Boxing 24 where the writer, he said exactly just that. He said that Lomachenko, he would be in trouble if he went up to 140. The way he struggled, he did not look good against Luke Campbell. And if he did go up to 140, he would be wise to cherry pick and take an easier opponent like a Jose Ramirez. This is what the guy said in the article. So if you have writers saying things like this, and then you have Devin Haney coming out and saying, oh yeah, I could beat this guy, and you can't ever recall a time when people were saying the exact same thing about Terrence Crawford, that alone tells you who pound for pound the best fighter in the world is. You know, Lomachenko is trying to pretty much do the same things that Terrence Crawford is doing, which is moving up in weight successfully. Every division Terrence Crawford moved up to, every weight class he moved up to, he was just as dominant as he was in the smaller weight classes. But what we're seeing with Lomachenko is the more he moves up, the less dominant he is. So once again, by just looking at how Lomachenko looked against Luke Campbell, we know that when Terrence Crawford was at 140, if Lomachenko would have moved up 2 weight classes, the same way Guillermo Rigo moved up 2 weight classes to fight him, or the same way Mikey Garcia moved up 2 weight classes to fight Errol Spence, we know that Lomachenko, he would have lost to Terrence Crawford. And I'm only giving you guys a scenario because once again, we are comparing Lomachenko to Terrence Crawford in terms of who pound for pound the best fighter in the world is, right? Now, keep in mind though, there are some great fighters that did move up 2 weight classes and were successful. Shane Mosley, he moved up 2 weight classes and he beat Oscar De La Hoya. Now, I know every time that's mentioned, you always have De La Hoya fans that say, hey, Shane Mosley, you know, he tested positive for PEDs. No, Shane Mosley tested positive for the rematch, which was years later, and that was way after Shane Mosley had already lost twice to Vernon Forrest, which wasn't even the same Mosley, but that's when he tested positive. And then you have Roberto Duran, who moved up 2 weight classes to beat Sugar Ray Leonard. So it has happened in the past, so it is possible. You just have to be a very special fighter to pull it off. And I think the majority of you guys would agree with me, even if you're Lomachenko's #1 fan, that Lomachenko most likely would not have beat Terrence Crawford moving up 2 weight classes. And once again, I'm not saying that he's obligated to do it. I'm just saying if we are comparing them against each other, then we should compare them in the ring, how they would do against each other, right? I have a feeling either the end of this year or 2020 is going to be a very interesting year for Lomachenko, because I have a feeling the Gervonta Tank Davises, the Devin Haneys, they're all going to go after Lomachenko. So Loma is going to have some dance partners that he didn't have before. I'm really curious to see how Devin Haney or how Lomachenko is going to respond to Devin Haney calling him out. Even though it wasn't an official call out, it's the closest thing to it. He said, I could beat Lomachenko point blank, and he had never said that before. So let's see how Lomachenko responds. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video up. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.
External rotation of the shoulder, then back in.